So I was given the task to talk about what matters to me, and I I chose to talk about society's views on police officers. So as a first grader, I had to do a writing test and talk about what I wanted to be when I grew up. So a lot of people were talking about wanting to be a doctor, a lawyer, a veterinarian, even a musician. But I was the only kid in my class who wanted to be a police officer. So later that day, I went to my father and I said, Dad, I want to be a police officer. And he looked and smiled at me and said, Ariana, why would you ever want to be a police officer? And I said, I want to be just like you. I want to save and protect the citizens of my community. Well, little did I know as a first grader that it is one of the most hardest jobs that someone could ever have. You have to have bravery, courage, and the highest level integrity to have that job. And I I didn't realize that one day that my father or my brother could not come home. Their job should be one of the most respected jobs, but because of the people in our society, it is not. It is one of the most hated jobs. And as I was on a ride along with my brother, I saw many people give me disgusted looks from the cars that they were in, and I didn't understand. But I came to a realization that a lot of people's views on police officers have changed over the years. And as a kid, I was so honored to be a sister and daughter of a police officer, but now I know why people think it is so uncool to have a relative in the law enforcement. And as a kid, I was not invited to a lot of things because of that. But it didn't stop me from loving who my brother and my father were and what they do. And a lot of people don't get how painful it is to know that they could not come home. And that happened to the Moody family. Officer Bradley Moody was a police officer for Richmond, and in 2008 he had a call to back up one of his fellow officers at a scene of an assault. As he was driving to save and help out his coworker, his patrol car went out of control and struck a light pole on the Marina Bay Parkway. And he left behind a wife and two young children. Now, that story scares me because that could happen to me. And that is one of the reasons why I respect police officers, because every day they risk their lives to save the people around them, even if they don't respect police officers. And there had been a lot of reports on shootings of police officers killing innocent young males and females, and like a report about the Ferguson shooting, how a white officer killed an African American male. Now, I did my research, and that male tried to grab his gun. And the first instinct that officer had was to kill him. Now I ask you, would you have done the same thing to save your life? If you had a wife and or husband and had young children, would you do the same so you could see them again? That officer had to he resigned from his position as an officer because he did not want to risk the lives of his family and his fellow coworkers. That man's job was to become a police officer, and he had to give that up. And I respect him to the fullest amount, while others in our society don't. Things like that have caused riots in our cities, and people's businesses have been destroyed because of people being so angry at these police officers who are just doing what they are trained to do. Yes, there are bad cops, but the things people say about cops cannot go for all of them. And I don't think people realize that they still have to save and protect people who disrespect them. And people just, they don't get that they could not come home one day. And I sit here and think about the ignorant-minded people who just think that being a police officer is just so bad, and they just put people in jail for no reason. Well, if you did your research, then you would know why they did what they had to do. And I sit here and think about the other jobs where they could do the wrong things to citizens. Doctors could purposely do something wrong in surgery and cause them to have brain damage for the rest of their life. Or lawyers putting away people in jail, but they were innocent. But are they on the news? And if that officer in the Ferguson shooting was black and the young male was white, would that be on the news? No. If the young male actually killed the officer, would that be on the news? No. Because all our society cares about is white dominating black. And just because that happens in a long time period of history doesn't mean that things haven't changed. That officer did what he had to do. And you cannot put race, and you cannot involve race in every little situation. I have a family member who was Hispanic and had to kill a male Hispanic to save his own life. Now, was that on the news? No, it wasn't. Because of his race. And I have to say to you out there, do you think it is right to disrespect the people who put their lives on the risk for you? Please think about that. And think about what they're trained to do. Thank you.